What's happening, y'all? This is the OG Bronc Nuts. 719 West. The 2019 NFL Draft is now completed day 2, so we got rounds 1, 2, and 3 together. So I want to jump on here tonight, have a little conversation with you Bronco maniacs out there and see what you think about the draft picks that we took. I think so far that Elway's done a masterful job in this draft, and wanted to see what you guys thought about our new quarterback, what we got going on. What's up, Bronco? J-Mac? Official Fresco, you loved it? Yeah, I did too, man. It seemed like we really, almost like we were stealing in this deal, to tell you the truth, because, you know, I think when you look at yesterday in the first round, I'm sorry, I'm pulling up the chat on my laptop here real quick. Let me do that so I can easily see what you guys are typing a whole lot easier. So when we pull off the trade yesterday in the first round, I think it was clear that the Broncos were after a tight end, right? So you got to at least think that probably TJ Hawkinson was on their radar, and definitely so was probably White. And when those two were gone, I think those are the only two players that Denver really liked in the first round, which makes sense why they trade down with the Steelers at 20. We pick up an extra second and a third next year. And if you look at that trade, that whole trade allowed Drew Lock to fall right into the Denver Broncos' lap with the third pick and the second pick of the second round. So I feel really, really good about this. I mean, anybody who's been watching my channel for any amount of time, you've seen the reviews that I did about 30 to 60 days ago on the quarterbacks, and I told you that I didn't really like Kyler Murray. I didn't care for Dwayne Haskins at all. And I like Locke as the best quarterback in the draft for us, and then maybe Daniel Jones on down the line. Now, there was a lot of people out there that gave Locke a first-round draft grade somewhere right in the middle. And what I feel fortunate as a fan, and I hope you guys all feel the same way, you know, we definitely get a very athletic, a 4.5 speed guy in our tight end, and Fant, however you say his name. And I think that, you know, that's been a real big safety outlet for Joe Flacco when he was in Baltimore. And, you know, it's hard to know what the shape of our tight end locker room or our tight end room looks like right now, with Jake Butt going on injured reserve last year, along with the other one we got from Wisconsin. He's got a weird last name, Fumangili or something. Both those guys were down, and then we re-signed Hireman. So, I mean, if you look at that pick with Fant has to be really something that was a big need for the Broncos. Of course, we had a lot of needs, but that was definitely one of them. And then to get Dalton Reisner, man, that's another guy that you heard me talk about in my videos over the last 2 months. I mean, a Colorado kid, and from Wiggins, Colorado, which is just a small 1A school around here, went to K-State out in Kansas and really tore it up there as an offensive lineman. Now, he's a tackle, so they're going to try to move him, I hope, inside to guard, because we just signed the best right tackle in the league, and I think Bowles made a big step at left tackle in the back end, or at least the back third of last year, the 2018 season. So as long as Bowles really improves his technique, and then we can move Reisner inside the middle, I mean, I really think this is a big kid, can really help us out a lot. Thanks for everybody joining the stream. What's up, Gary Holland, Iron Man, Argo, Grape Ape, all you guys. I think Big Dalton, you think is a future All-Pro? I do too. I mean, I think he's the type of guy that can get in your system, play offensive line for 10, 12 years. I mean, that's what's nice about drafting an offensive lineman, especially one up towards the top of the draft. Now, I think the Broncos still got to address center. We definitely got to address middle linebacker. But, you know, one thing that leads me to believe that, you know, Coach Fangio is a defensive mastermind, and his specialty is the middle linebacker. So, you know, I think he looked over our roster, and I know with Marshall being gone, that hurts, and I'm not a big Todd Davis fan. I think Josie Jewell came on a little bit strong. He was graded one of the best rookie linebackers on the inside last year, sideline to sideline. But one guy that I think that we can't sleep on in thinking about what the Broncos are doing on this draft at middle linebacker is, remember that we signed A.J. Johnson, and this guy was supposed to be a top 1 or 2 round picks. When he was supposed to come out, he got hung up on some court charges that had to do with rape that he got completely acquitted on by a jury. So the Broncos signed him to the largest free agent deal in franchise history. So it makes me believe that they have a plan at middle linebacker, and I think Fangio would have been something that he would have addressed if it was really that big of a need. So, look, I like the players that we got. Grant Abe, Faint's got that 4.5 40 and 39.5-inch reach vertical. I mean, you're right. We haven't had a tight end since Julius Thomas. And really what made him so good was just Peyton Manning being able to audible and check him down and get him in the right plays and make him successful. So I love the fact that we have some help along the offensive line, which all of us saw as a glaring need over the last several years. It's not going to really matter who's behind center if we can't protect anybody up front. So I like us picking up a defensive tackle. Is there anybody out there who knows? I kind of missed it when we traded with Cincinnati to move up to get Locke in that back-to-back pick. What did we have to give Cincinnati? I know we swapped second-round picks, which was just a few positions with them, but what did we give him in addition? Because I didn't pick up on that, and I was wondering what anybody have seen on there. Yeah, Iron Man, we've got that A.J. Johnson. I love Johnson. I love Jewell. And I think that both of them, A.J. was out of football for 3 years, and it takes a little bit to get back in game shape, NFL shape, playing shape. So really probably what their plan was to put him on the sidelines and just, use him as a developmental player, which says a lot about the kid because, look, in the NFL, it's hard to make the 53-man roster. So to get on that roster, you're going to take a roster spot up from somebody else. And they basically took a roster spot up with AJ and just shelved him. So hopefully, he's a beast. He really is. And hopefully he's ready to go and makes an impact on our team. I was surprised that the Broncos, it was kind of tempting maybe not to pick up a Greedy Williams or, one of those corners because there had been, 7 corners drafted in the first 60 picks. So the draft was deep with corners and edge rushers. And this kind of tells you a lot, the fact that we haven't gone after a corner. Keep in mind we signed Yitem last year. It tells you that Chris Harris is going to get paid. So, I think it's just a formality where they need to work through the draft and work through just numbers at positions before they go and negotiate with Chris. But I think that deal will get done. And it really pretty much has to because, in the AFC West, when you're talking about Keenan Allen and probably not now Tyreek Hill, but, at least Antonio Brown over in Oakland, I think that those two guys being in the same division almost forces us to sign Chris Harris because there's nobody else that can play man-to-man single coverage against those guys. And the reality is, as good as Chris Harris is, I don't think he can cover Antonio Brown anyway. So I think the Broncos they must feel like they're pretty set at defense. I know we picked up a defensive lineman from Ole Miss, and so getting some guys from some of these big schools, some big players, I'm really happy with what we've done so far. We gave up 85 Hellkite. We gave up a 4th and a 6th, okay, on top of swapping picks. So we basically gave up one guy. A 6th round's probably not going to have a high probability of making your team. And really, to be able to get who might end up being our franchise quarterback of the future, it doesn't even really matter what we had to give up to get him, whether it was the rest of the draft. So I liked Locke, and I liked Locke at the bottom of the first round. In the video that I made pregame, the live stream that I did before the draft a couple nights ago, I said that my targets were White, Hawkinson, and and the other Devin, forget his last name, but those 3 guys, and if they were all still there when it came to 10, let's move down and squeeze it with Greedy Williams, maybe a Daniel Jones and a Drew Lock and see that we can get good value at the bottom of the first round. So to pick up Drew Lock, and he's a smart kid, he's a well-spoken kid, and he's in a great situation here because Flacco's got a 3-year contract, he's big money, and I can't see Locke getting in the game next year at all. We'll probably do the same thing with him as that Kansas City did with Mahomes and Alex Smith. I can't see him getting in the game unless we just have a ridiculously slow start and Flacco looks terrible. And I don't expect that to happen because I don't think Flacco's an elite quarterback, but I also don't think he's shabby. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. He's a definite upgrade of a passer from Case Keenum. So I think that the Broncos, we're going to be able to play good defense. I think we're going to be able to run the football. And we've, fixed up that offensive line a little bit more. So, hey, I think we make a couple plays last year. We win a couple more ball games and finishes at 8-8. So we've got something to build and improve on. I don't expect the Broncos to win the division at all by any means. I do expect us to compete for third or fourth in that division, but anything can happen. I think there's a chance, depending on how our young receivers gel together, what kind of linebacker play we got in the middle. I think we're good outside. And then in the back end, we got some new guys back there and some young guys back there. And so I don't know really what to expect of this Broncos team, how good we're going to be. But I'm just happy so far with the moves we've made. I think Elway so far has been masterful. Hopefully he's got some good little jewels and nuggets that we can kick out of the bushes like a Phillip Lindsay at the end of the draft when it's over. And then we still got a big day tomorrow because that's where we're going to find a lot of interior linemen and maybe some guys can fill in some backup positions at corner. So let's just hope that our other tight ends, Butt and what's his name, Fumangili, Tony Famangili, whatever his name is. Let's just hope those guys are healthy going into the camp so that we can get a four-way competition between those two Hireman and Fant, so that we can really get some competition and see who's going to emerge from there. Because look, if you look at all the good teams in the NFL who do a lot of winning, Patriots, recently the Chiefs, New Orleans, these teams got great tight ends, and the tight ends, they definitely it's something that we got to utilize, and that's what makes you excited about Fant and his athletic ability, because the fact that he is 4'5" and he can probably get behind a lot of these linebackers. Let's get to some of these comments. Argo, the Chiefs are just going to win the Super Bowl now, huh? Y'all ain't won jack shit in 58 years, and now you're calling it, now it's another year that the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. Look, we'll all believe it when we see it. We'll believe it when we see it because your trophy case is hungry as a hippie right now. Let's just be honest. Don't get it twisted. Worried about our safety, Hellkite? Well, we got Sua Cravens. You just got to remember that he was hurt last year and came back at the end of the year, and then I had another setback. But I'm not really worried about safety. I think Justin Simmons does a good job back there. Sua Cravens does a good job. I think we're going to be fine. And then we did get that Bosby guy from the AAF, and that's a guy that I think can help us out too. So, right. I think we're good at safety. I really do. What do you guys think about what's his face, Josh Roten getting traded to Miami? Man, let's just be happy that we're not Phoenix, the Cardinals, because they spent the top of the mark draft pick. What did Rosen go last year, in the top 10, somewhere right in there, to spend that kind of a pick on him and then trade him right away? And I don't even know what they got, a second or a third for him, and then to take Murray, who, Murray's going to be one of those guys. He's going to either be a big hit, the next Russell Wilson, or, he's going to be a big bust because he's a small guy. And, it's really hard to tell how those guys are going to take shots in the NFL, but I wouldn't bet against him because he sure looks good to me. You going fishing on Sunday, Bondi Sports? Where are you going fishing? What you fishing for up there in Canada? Some muskies? Shane, listen. Don't listen. You're saying, why is that dust? That's dust off your Lamar Hunt trophy? They don't have a Lamar Hunt trophy, Shane. Okay? They don't. Because there was no such thing as Lamar Hunt trophy back when the Chiefs were sniffing around the playoffs. There was also no such thing as a Lombardi trophy. Ten pick. Who was 10 pick, Bondi? That was 10 was who? Rosen last year? Is that where he went? Yeah, Argo. I think Miami. Look, I think Rosen can play. Last year, my choice on quarterbacks, I really liked Allen, but I liked Baker Mayfield first, and I liked Josh Allen. Then I liked Rosen. Rosen concerns me a little bit about his locker room presence and how he gets along with some of those other players, because that was kind of the knock on him when he was at UCLA, that he wasn't maybe the greatest team leader, but a lot of his teammates came out and said that wasn't true, but it's hard to know who to believe, in those situations. I guess that's why you got to leave it up to the NFL teams to do, some of that research, which obviously the Kansas City Chiefs ain't doing, because you red and yellow booger picking, flagpole licking, second place, silver medal runner-up, honorable mention, Fugazi fans, all you guys are doing is signing woman beaters. I mean, you signing guys that got to kick women and beat their kids? Chiefs are falling apart. The wheels are coming off right now, because right now is your window of opportunity to go deep and run into a playoff and run into a Super Bowl and maybe get yourself a Lombardi, because sooner or later you're going to have to pay Patrick Mahomes. And I'm going to tell you right now, that contract is going to be so big, it's going to be hard for you to afford the rest of the players that you're going to need to get around him. That's for sure. Mahomes MVP of 2019. Well, hey, Gary Holland, he did just make the Madden cover, which that's the jinx, so I was happy that he got on that Madden cover. DeMonte Jones was an awesome pick, Spencer. To tell you the truth, I haven't really looked into Draymond Jones that much. I like that he played at a big school, and I like that, look, Ohio State usually churns out some good football players, and he's a big guy, but I haven't reviewed any tape on him and seen what we really have in him. The other guys that we got, I'd looked at them at a lot. I mean, I've been a big fan of Reisner, was hoping that somehow we could get him on our roster, and I've been the biggest fan of Locke. So I really like the players that we got. I know our first round pick wasn't, as sexy as maybe a lot of us wanted it, but it really did fill a need, and it's something that has been a big hole here in Denver for a long time. Undertaker, what's my take on the Tyreek Hill situation? I think he's done. I don't know if he's done forever, but look, Adrian Peterson beat his kid with a switch and missed 16 or 17 games. I think he played in the first game and they suspended him for the rest of the year. So I don't really know how Tyreek Hill's going to recover from something like this. I think that the Chiefs will end up cutting him. He'll probably be suspended from the NFL for at least a year. And the fact that you can put and compound this on some of the things that happened at Oklahoma State, I think he's in for a long road, and maybe a lot of teams not wanting to give him a chance. I mean, how sick is it? His kid is 3 years old, and to toughen his kid up or to punish him, he tells him you got to spread your arms apart, and then he hits him in his chest. What kind of miserable father would do something like that? I mean, the guy's got anger problems, and his 3-year-old kid's terrified of him. And the worst part about it is it's not just Tyreek Hill, because this kind of stuff is going on all across the NFL. Look, everybody knows I hate the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to get on here and bash them and make fun of them every chance I get. But the reality is, and you've heard me say it before, that these kinds of things, these domestic abuse, and these internal problems within families, this is happening on every NFL football team, including ours. I mean, these guys grow up, they think they're invincible, that they can't be touched, they can't do any jail time, and they just start acting a fool when they're young guys, and then they make a lot of bad decisions and a lot of bad mistakes, and it's happening on a lot of teams. It's just not being exposed. And just recently, right there, back to back, the Chiefs have been hit with 2 big ones. And really, I mean, you can make an argument that those are 2 of the 3 best players for the Kansas City Chiefs, because to me, I ranked them Kareem Hunt, and then Kermit the Frog, and then Tyreek Hill. So to lose 2 of those guys, I mean, they at least still got Kermit. So Chiefs will probably be all right. And I know they drafted a really speedy wide receiver that's fast like Tyreek Hill. Some say he might even be faster. So, I mean, we'll see with that. But, I mean, Hill's a really electric and dynamic player, and he's as good of a decoy as he is with the ball in his hand. So look for that to hurt the Chiefs a lot. And I think that loss that they're going to inevitably end up taking with him is really going to level the playing field in the AFC West. And I think that anybody in the West really has a chance to win it. I mean, certainly Gruden and the Raiders, along with Mike Mayock over there, are picking a lot of young guys, and it's hard to make a big step, a big impact with that many young players and rookies on your team. But I think the Chiefs have been kicked in the knees, and I think that San Diego's or LA's window has started to shrink a little bit. Broncos are probably a little bit on the come up. So, any injuries can happen, anything can happen. The Broncos certainly will have a chance to win the division, but I think something major bad would have to happen to a Chiefs player, a very important player, for something like that to happen. And I don't wish that to happen to any Chiefs player. I mean, I don't hate the Chiefs that bad, but it does happen in the NFL. So if those things happen, anything can happen with the Broncos, and they could really get in the mix. So, yeah, Bengals, Dashy, The Undertaker, you guys did get that swap. And as soon as I seen that trade come through, I figured it either was for Locke for sure, or it was maybe for one of the top corners. And I was thinking maybe it'd be Greedy Williams, but you look at even after that, there were 2 or 3 corners that got drafted even after that pick, where we picked Locke, even before Greedy got taken. So there's something about his game that they don't like. I mean, he's 185, 6'2". He's pretty big. If he puts some weight on, he's Aqib Talib all over, except faster. But he doesn't have the greatest ball skills, and there's something that these NFL teams didn't like him, because I think there were 6 or 7 corners that went before Greedy did. So, I mean, I'm like probably a lot of other people. I had him ranked a lot higher than obviously 32 general managers in the NFL did. You think Elway's got this 2 years in a row with the draft MVP? Look, I really think Elway's had a great draft so far. I mean, I really do. We still got to put together tomorrow, and it's still important, as we've seen in the past, to sign quality free agents, because those guys can make your football team. And look, there's players that get picked up in these 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds that can really help out your franchise, especially if you just get yourself a little nugget that turns out to be something. So, look, what we're gonna have to do. We had a good draft last year. That's no secret. And if we can put together 2, 3 drafts in a row, we can get back into things and be a serious force in the NFL in a hurry. But I think we're going to need a little bit. What's up, King Stacy? You happy with the draft? I think everybody in here is. What's up, Andrew Long, Spencer Alvarez, Argo? Thanks for showing up to the stream. I appreciate it when you guys show up and mix it up with me. Give me what your thoughts are and what you think about what happened. Anybody got any favorites for tomorrow that you'd like to see in the blue and orange? I mean, I haven't really looked deep enough into this draft of who else we really need, but I would still think we need some linebacker help. I would be not surprised at all to see us go after 1 or even 2 more offensive linemen, just because we lost Pratis and we had some injuries at that position last year. And so I think that, and who knows, maybe Reisner's coming in to put some pressure on Garrett Bowles. I mean, that's a possibility too, because he is a tackle, but it would be nice to see him get moved inside. Tyrell Banks, you like him? Trey Lamar, linebacker, Clemson. Now, I do like that guy. Mac Wilson, definitely. You like the kicker from Kansas? I don't know. Jayhawk's got a good kicker? I haven't heard nothing about him. I mean, it's not like we really need him. I mean, McManus started the season off those first 3 or 4 games last year where he missed some field goals, but then he got hot and he was solid the rest of the year. And McManus is, he's good. He's nails here, and he's under contract. There's just really no reason for us to take a kicker. Hunter Renfrow is one of my favorite players in this draft. I love Hunter Renfrow. The guy looks like he's Wes Welker or Julian Edelman. Great, slot receiver quality all over again. He's a really electric player. And I think Dobby Sweeney got him a good one when he recruited him. Did he get drafted yet? Riley Ridley would be a nice little pickup. I do like linebacker because I still think we're weak at that position. I do think we need to get another wide receiver, because if you look at what we have, I think we're good enough, but who knows how really healthy Manny Sanders is. And I think we're good. I think Manny's healthy. And I think Cortland will come on, do his thing. Tim Patrick he flashed last year. And Deshaun Hamilton, I don't think we've seen the best of what he has to offer yet. So we got some good young wideouts. At least we're young in that wideout room. And by the time that Drew Lock is going to be able to get on the field in Denver, those guys are going to have a little bit of experience. And I think we're going to have some success. Locke definitely has a big-time arm. I mean, Locke's got every bit as good as arm as Patrick Mahomes. He's not as elusive, although I think Locke's a pretty good scrambler. You know, the thing I liked and didn't like about Locke, the thing I didn't like about him is that, you know, you look at his game tape. I went and watched every snap he took in college, and you look at the top 20 plays that Locke had in college, and you can't figure out how he doesn't go #1 overall. He's that good of a talent. He's a talented guy. But on the same token, you look at the 20 worst plays that Locke had, where he threw the ball up a lot and he made some really bad decisions. Those 20 plays, he looks undraftable. I mean, he really does, especially not a first or second round. So, I mean, I saw him dice up Florida big time. I think that Locke is going to be a good move for us. And plus, I mean, how do you not like a quarterback with the last name Locke? It's a lock. No, I don't think, Gamer, listen, I don't think we're going to lose Chris Harris Jr. I really don't. And the reason why is because we haven't drafted a corner. So, you know, we moved Roby and brought in, what's his face from Houston to play the other side. I don't see how there's any way Chris Harris doesn't get signed. I mean, he's been chirping a little bit, either demanding a trade or a new contract. And the reality is that he's going to get that. So he doesn't even need to make demands. The Broncos are in a spot where we either have to trade him, and if we did, I mean, at least we're getting the top of the mark on the trade value for Chris Harris. And then if we don't trade him, he's going to get a new contract, and he's going to get paid. I mean, he's one of the elite quarters in the NFL, and so, I mean, those guys, again, you're going to have to scratch him checks. That's just all there is to it. Elway in his press conference, Spencer said that they were going to talk after the draft. Okay, good. I didn't hear that, and that doesn't surprise me. I don't think that Broncos are going to let Chris Harris get away from him. I really don't. Undertaker, you got troll jobs tonight in Nashville, Tennessee. What kind of troll jobs? What do you mean? Andrew, you think Harris is going to get 12.5, 13 million a year? I'd say that's about right. I mean, this is going to be his big contract, his big signing. And really, Chris Harris deserves it. I mean, he does. He's done everything here. I mean, let's hope that hairline fracture in his lower fibula is healed. But I think that he says, I mean, I listened to him on the interview. He said he's as good as new, 100% ready to go. So I can't believe that he would say something like that if he really wasn't. I mean, he's an elite player, Pro Bowler, class act guy. So he's really confident in his ability, and we're certainly going to need him because there's some big-time wide receivers, I mean, as good as there are in the NFL, are right here in our conference. So, Drew Lock is trash, huh, just baby on Clowney? Well, I haven't seen him be trash at all. I mean, I really haven't. I think he's got a big-time arm. Jovan Hernandez, I do like Drew Lock. I really do. I made videos all the way up in as long as 2 months ago. Several posts that I made on other social media accounts, clearly lobbying for Drew Lock because I think he's got something special. I mean, he's been a winner everywhere he's gone, and this kid is he's got a lightning arm. And anymore in the NFL, if you can just move and push and press the pocket a little bit, and you got an arm to really get behind some defenders because you can buy some time. I mean, that's what makes guys like even Mahomes that good, because it's hard to cover people that long, that deep, and he can actually get it to them. Whereas, you know, Case is not going to be able to get a ball that deep to somebody, and Flacco isn't either. I mean, you're going to need a young gun with a big-time arm, and I think Locke's got that. And, you know, what concerned me about waiting and going for Tua next year is that I saw Tua in the national championship game get picked off twice on the same play, which was the deep 15-yard out. I don't think that Tua can drive the ball on a deep 15-yard out, and I think that Dabu Sweeney figured it out. That's why they jumped both of those routes, and that's why I think they inevitably won that game, was just because of those turnovers. Whereas I think Locke easily makes the 15-yard drive on the on an out route. So to me, in the NFL, you have to be able to make that throw, because that's one of the biggest throws in the route tree is the 15-yard out. And if you can't make that throw in the NFL, you give a big advantage to defensive corners. And that's what really stifled us with Case. And it's what makes the great ones great. You know, the guys like Elway and Marino and Montana and Brady and even Patrick Mahomes. I mean, these guys are good quarterbacks and they got big time arms and they can drive the ball. Brady, not so much. He just outthinks you, but he's a good player. What do I think about the offensive lineman, Jared? Before we drafted Locke, I love him. I mean, I've said in videos before, I would love to see, just in my last video, that I would love to see if there was a way for us to trade, use one of those picks that we got by trading with Pittsburgh at 10 to move to 20, if there was a way for us to package and maybe run right back into the bottom of the first round or the top of the first round and pick up Dalton Reisner. I mean, that was in my very last video, which is exactly what we did. He's a big kid. He loves the Broncos. He's a Colorado boy. I mean, there's not a lot more we could ask for. And so far, we've been pretty lucky with Colorado kids that have gone onto our team, most recently, Philip Lindsay. Locke's so awesome. He went out of the first round. Well, hey, Hog Farmer, the reality is that Elway may have failed again. I mean, you never know, but it doesn't matter who you draft, right? I mean, you think that they got any guarantees with any of those quarterbacks that went before Locke? None. You think the Browns had a guarantee with what's his face? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, there's no guarantees. I mean, it doesn't matter what quarterback you pick. Baker Mayfield could have came out and just, laid an egg just like anybody else. And so it's hard to see how guys are going to respond. Nobody expected Tom Brady to be the greatest ever from the 6th round. It's really hard to know until you put him in that position. All I know is that Drew Lock has put himself and the Broncos have put themselves in a good position with him on the team, because I don't see any way he's going to get on the field next year. And Flacco's got a 3-year contract. It gives us a chance to develop him a little bit, let him get comfortable with the playbook, and his day's coming and his time's coming, and we'll see. But he's had success everywhere he's gone, and he played in big schools, again, big games against SEC opponents, and I like that a lot better than I like a Paxton Lynch coming from Memphis and not playing against those quality athletes with that kind of speed. Drew Lock has seen the best of the best in college football. So that's what makes me excited about at least getting a guy like that, and why I also liked him a little bit better than Daniel Jones. I mean, I think Daniel Jones can be a good player. I don't know if he's worth the 6th pick overall. I don't know if the Giants made a good move, but if this guy ends up being their franchise quarterback, it's a great move. But I don't think that Jones played as good a competition as Locke did, and I think Jones has got a little bit better touch. I think he's a little bit tougher. I like his size, but Jones didn't take any snaps out of from under center last year. Everything's out of the shotgun, and I think that's probably where the NFL's headed, that type of a game anyway. But you got to be able to play action in the NFL, and so you got to be under center to play action. I mean, you just have to. I'm not worried about. People say Elway can't pick a quarterback. I mean, exactly right, Hog Farmer. Elway knows quarterbacks. I mean, he does, and you're going to miss. I mean, guys are human. Some of the best GMs in the world have missed on quarterbacks. I mean, they really have. And you can name tons of them over history who have missed. And some guys, it's hard to evaluate their heart. It's hard to evaluate their work ethic. It's hard to evaluate their will to win. And I just don't think Paxton Lynch had that, and he sold us a dog and pony show at the Combine. And maybe what we really did, maybe what the Broncos are really guilty of is being a bad evaluator of the type of heart, the type of commitment that, maybe he had for pro football. Because there was a lot of people that said, the rumor out on Paxton Lynch is that he wasn't studying as hard as he needed to and wasn't really, the last person there at practice working on things to do what he could do to get himself in the game. I mean, the guy couldn't even beat out a no-name 7th round draft pick, Trevor Siemian, or 6th round, or whatever he was. And so when you can't do that, I mean, it was a definite miss. It was that thing blew up in our face, and we reached for him. I think Elway learned a lesson. We didn't give up a lot here for Locke because we essentially got him for free by moving down from 10 to 20 and still got the player that I think we need. Maybe it was Hawkinson who they were after, but to end up with Faint, a guy that was on the same team, I mean, obviously use a tight end a lot there in Iowa, and I think that we'll probably get a good player either way, and I think we got the most athletic of the 2 tight ends, and that's important in the NFL because 4.5 speed coming out of the end of the line. That's murder on a middle linebacker, and I don't think there's a lot of middle linebackers that are going to be able to cover him. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the draft, man. I appreciate you guys all jumping in here and kicking it up with me tonight. I'm not going to be able to watch much of the draft tomorrow, although I'll just be checking updates on my phone. I'll definitely, probably on Sunday, get you a video on what I thought about the last day of the draft, the players that we picked up in rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. Anybody that we signed in free agency, let's talk about it. I think things are good so far. We're off to a good start, Broncos country. A lot to be excited about. New quarterback coming into Denver, new coach, and I think we're going to have a vicious defense. We should be a fun team to watch. This is the OG Broncos, 719 West 2019 NFL Draft. Thanks for coming by. See you tomorrow, suckers.